Excuse me, where are you going with that bag?
I'm heading to the gate. I work here. My flight departs at 8.
You work here? Doing what? That's a crew bag.
I'm the pilot in command, Flight 422 to JFK. Here's my badge.
Huh, okay, sure. Where'd you get this uniform?
It's issued by my airline. My ID is valid.
Everything is right there, but the second officer steps closer. We need you to come with us. Now, don't make this difficult. In the next 90 seconds, this routine security stop becomes something else entirely. The woman they just accused of wearing a stolen uniform was about to pilot 283 passengers across the Atlantic Ocean. She was a captain with over 8,000 flight hours, but these two officers had already decided what they saw. And it had nothing to do with her credentials. Before I continue, have you ever been stopped and questioned by someone in power just because of how you look? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's see what you think about this. Those two security officers had absolutely no idea who they were stopping. Her name was Captain Sarah Mitchell. She was 32 years old. For 13 years, she had flown commercial aircraft around the world. She started as a flight attendant in 2011. By 2013, she earned her pilot's license. She became a commercial pilot in 2015. By 2021, she made captain, over 8,000 flight hours. Perfect safety record for 12 years. She trained other pilots. She spoke 4 languages, English, French, Spanish, and Mandarin. She was one of fewer than 7% of commercial pilots who were women. She was one of fewer than 2% who were black women. This wasn't her first time being stopped. 2 other times at this same airport, security had questioned her. Both times she stayed quiet. Both times nothing happened. She just wanted to move on. Now here's what happened next. Wait, there's more to this story. The officers who stopped Captain Mitchell weren't acting alone. They were part of a bigger problem. Their names were Mark DeLatta and Philippe Rousseau. DeLatta was 47 years old. Rousseau was 39. Both had worked airport security for over 8 years. Together, they had received 23 complaints. 19 of those complaints came from crew members of color. The pattern was clear. In 2020, DeLatta detained a Japanese flight attendant. She had a valid badge. She worked for the airline, but he demanded she prove it anyway. The case got dismissed, but it was documented. In 2021, Rousseau refused entry to a Brazilian co-pilot. He claimed the credentials were forged. A manager had to step in. The co-pilot filed a complaint. Nothing happened to Rousseau. In 2022, at the exact same checkpoint where Captain Mitchell worked, DeLatta stopped a South African female pilot. He questioned whether she was authorized to wear captain insignia. An incident report was filed. The officers got reassigned. Then they came right back. Among crew members, they had a nickname, not a good one. They called them the gatekeepers. You knew what they'd do before they even did it. Type bias if you think this was discrimination before even meeting Captain Mitchell. This happened on February 14, 2023. Valentine's Day, 5:47 in the morning. Charles de Gaulle Airport, Terminal 2E, the crew security checkpoint. It was cold outside, clear. The airport was busy, pre-dawn international flights. 3 security lanes, 2 of them were open. DeLatta and Rousseau worked 1 lane. The checkpoint usually processed people fast. 90 seconds per person. Normal, routine. 8 to 10 other pilots and flight attendants had already been processed before Captain Mitchell arrived. Nobody had problems. Then Captain Mitchell walked up. She wore her navy blue captain's jacket, silver insignia on the shoulders, her pilot's cap, her official badge on a lanyard around her neck. She looked exactly like what she was, a captain ready for her flight. DeLatta and Rousseau saw her. Their eyes met. A moment passed between them. Not a normal moment, a moment that shouldn't have happened. She approached the checkpoint. She said, "Good morning, Captain Mitchell, AF Flight 227 to New York." DeLatta's voice turned cold immediately. "That's nice. Where exactly are you going with that uniform?" That question wasn't protocol. A crew member doesn't get asked that. You announce your flight and move through. Something changed in that second. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe right now. We expose these patterns everywhere. Captain Mitchell didn't understand. She was confused but still polite. "I'm heading to my aircraft," she said. "I'm piloting AF 227 today." Rousseau laughed, a cold laugh. "Right, and I'm the Pope, seriously. Where did you get that uniform?" He was mocking her, not asking a real question. Captain Mitchell tried to move forward. She pulled out her badge, her pilot's license. "I have my badge right here, my pilot's license, my flight assignment. Everything is valid." DeLatta stepped closer. He blocked her path. "Badges can be F. 8 licenses can be stolen. We've had incidents. You'll come with us to verify this claim." Now he was accusing her with no evidence, no reason, just accusation. Captain Mitchell stayed calm, professional. "I understand you're doing your job, but I'm on a strict schedule. Can we please scan my credentials and move forward?" Rousseau's voice got harder. You know what? I think you're impersonating airline personnel. That's a federal offense in France. You understand that? But do you really work? Criminal accusation, no basis, just said it. Captain Mitchell's voice changed, still controlled, but firm now. I'm not impersonating anyone. I'm Captain Sarah Mitchell. I've been flying for Air France for 5 years. Check your system. My credentials are there. De Latter moved closer. His tone turned into a threat. Look, we're not going to stand here and argue. Either you produce someone who can verify your story. We're calling the police and explaining why you're wearing stolen airline property in a secure zone. He was done asking. He was threatening arrest. Captain Mitchell could hear anger in her own voice now. This is absurd. I'm calling my chief pilot right now. This is discrimination. Rousseau started to respond, his words cut off. Discrimination, please, we stop people like you. He caught himself. People like you. There it was. Everything revealed in 3 words. Other people in line saw it. Brazilian co-pilot named Maria Santos stepped forward. Excuse me, I know this officer. She is a captain. I've flown with her 3 times. De Latter dismissed her. Stay out of this, not your problem. A French flight attendant named Julien Marchand spoke up. I worked this route. Captain Mitchell is legitimate. This is wrong. De Latter ignored him too. An Italian pilot named Marco Rossi called checkpoint management on his phone. There's a problem at your security post. An officer is harassing a legitimate captain. The tension was escalating. De Latter stepped closer, used his body to intimidate. Voices got louder. Other crew members stopped and stared. Passengers started recording on their phones. Nobody noticed yet, but it was happening. At 6:02 in the morning, everything changed. That's when Anton Leclerc showed up. He was the checkpoint manager, 50 years old, 20 years of experience. He came because Marco Rossi had called. Anton took one look at the situation and understood immediately. He looked at the confrontation. He saw the phones recording. He saw Captain Mitchell standing there. He saw De Latter and Rousseau's faces. Marc Philippe, step back, Anton said. His voice was calm but commanding. Need to speak with Captain Mitchell. He turned to her. Captain, I sincerely apologize. These officers have made a serious error. Your credentials are absolutely valid. Captain Mitchell didn't smile. She didn't feel relief. She felt something else. Anger mixed with exhaustion. I've been through this twice before at this airport, she said. Her voice was steady. Both times nothing happened. Both times I was told to let it go. This is the 3rd time. I want to know what your protocol actually is. And why it's not being followed. Anton's face changed. He didn't expect that. This has happened to you here before. 2020, Captain Mitchell said, and again in 2022. Different officers, same question. Are you sure you're really a pilot? Anton felt his stomach drop. He knew what that meant. De Latter tried to backtrack. His voice was desperate now. Captain, we were just being thorough. Captain Mitchell cut him off. You were being discriminatory. And I have witnesses, and I'm going to file a formal complaint with airport security, with Air France management, with the French Aviation Authority. Maria Santos stepped forward again. This time she wasn't asking permission. I'm willing to make a statement. I've known Captain Mitchell for 3 years. She's one of the most experienced pilots on our roster. What I just saw was profiling, nothing else. Julien Marchand spoke up louder. I've worked with her dozens of times. She's a captain. This is humiliating to watch. These officers should be investigated. Marco Rossi held up his phone. I recorded the entire thing, the officer's language, the accusations, it's all here. This is documented harassment. Now Anton understood the full situation. 3 witnesses, multiple recordings, officers caught on video. This wasn't going away. He immediately called his supervisor, Director Claudine Moreau. She was the airport security director. She arrived within 5 minutes. Anton had already told her everything on the phone. Claudine pulled up the CCTV footage on a monitor right there. She watched it in real time. She reviewed the badge system logs. Captain Mitchell's credentials had been scanned and verified at 5:48 in the morning. The system showed it. The officers never even checked. Claudine. His face went cold. She looked at De Latter and Rousseau. Marc Philippe, step away from the checkpoint now. Her voice had no mercy in it. Rousseau tried to defend themselves. Director Moreau, we were following standard security procedures. Claudine was already reading the CCTV on screen. No, standard procedure is scan badge, verify credentials, clear crew member. You did none of that. You made accusations with 0 evidence. You refused to check the system. And the language you used on this video reveals bias, period. Claudine didn't wait for a response. She called in 3 investigators. They reviewed everything. The complete CCTV footage from multiple angles, the audio, the badge verification records, the timestamps, everything. They interviewed 5 witnesses. They obtained the phone recordings from crew members. They checked personnel files for De Latter and Rousseau, previous complaints, accusations, patterns. Then they called Air France crew scheduling, confirmed Captain Mitchell's assignment. She was assigned to flight AF227. She was the commanding pilot. Everything was documented and verified. The investigation took 48 hours. The conclusion was clear. DeLatta and Rousseau violated airport protocol. They made accusations with zero evidence. They refused to check the system that would have cleared her in 30 seconds. They used language that revealed racial bias. The airport's decision was swift. Both officers were terminated immediately for cause misconduct. Discrimination. The French Labor Court was contacted. Both men were found liable for racial discrimination. The airport authority announced retraining. All 340 security personnel required to complete anti-discrimination certification, 12 hours of training, new checkpoint protocols, digital verification required within 60 seconds, independent oversight, external audits for 2 years, new checkpoint management. Captain Mitchell's immediate situation needed answering. One question mattered to her most. Would she still fly that day? Would she pilot flight AF227? She consulted with her chief pilot. 10 minutes they talked. Then she made her decision. Absolutely, she said. I'm not letting this day define me. Those passengers deserve a captain, and I'm their captain. By 6:30 in the morning, the incident was resolved. Captain Mitchell proceeded through security expedited. She walked to her aircraft. 283 passengers waited. She boarded. She sat in the captain's seat. And at 7:32 that morning, flight AF227 pushed back from the gate, 2 minutes ahead of schedule. 7.5 hours later, she landed in New York, a flawless crossing of the Atlantic Ocean. But something else was happening. The passengers she carried had no idea. The incident wasn't finished. If stories like this matter to you, hit subscribe. We're exposing these patterns everywhere. While Captain Mitchell was cruising at 35,000 feet over the ocean, the 3 videos hit the internet. At 8:32 in the morning, Maria Santos uploaded her recording. Her caption was simple. Just watched airport security harass a black female captain in her own uniform at CDG, asked her to prove she was a pilot, with zero evidence. This is 2023, aviation racism. By 9:15, it had 8,400 views. 2,100 retweets. By 9:45, it was trending in France. The hashtag was spreading, 35,000 views, 14,000 retweets. At 11:20, it crossed 287,000 views. International pilots associations were sharing it. By 12:30, local Paris news picked it up. France 3 ran a segment. By 2:15 in the afternoon, the Associated Press published a story. By 5 o'clock, BBC News Europe ran a segment. That was 6 hours after the incident. By 8:45 that night, it had 4.2 million views on Twitter alone. The algorithms pushed it everywhere. TikTok showed it to 6.1 million people. Instagram and Threads showed it to 3.8 million. YouTube had the full 14-minute incident video uploaded by Marco Rossi, 2.4 million views in 48 hours. People were outraged. They were also supportive. Real pilots responded. This is my captain, she trained me, she's extraordinary, I'm shaking with anger watching this. Another comment. This is what discrimination looks like. Clear-cut, documented, unacceptable, support Captain Mitchell. A community account wrote, Captain Sarah Mitchell, you represent every black woman pilot fighting invisibility. We see you, the world sees you now. The story went mainstream. France 3 ran an investigation. BBC News covered it as systemic. Reuters quoted the International Air Transport Association. The aviation industry was watching. Let me know what you think about Thai's response in the comments. Do you think it went viral fast enough? 3 days later, Captain Mitchell filed a lawsuit. She had support from Air France legal team. She had support from an anti-racism nonprofit called SOS Racisme France. Her lawsuit named 2 defendants, Marc DeLatta personally, Philippe Rousseau personally, plus the airport authority itself. The claims were serious: racial discrimination, harassment, abuse of authority, violation of professional dignity, pattern of discrimination. The airport's own internal records became evidence. 23 complaints filed against DeLatta over 8 years, 19 from crew of color, 17 complaints against Rousseau over 6 years, 14 from non-European crew, 8 previous complaints about racial profiling at that exact checkpoint. Not one person had been disciplined. Before this incident, before the video. Nothing. The evidence was overwhelming. 847 pages of documentation, 12 hours of CCTV footage, 34 witness statements. Months later, in August 2023, the court made its decision. The settlement was substantial. Economic loss, counseling costs, lost wages, 45,000 euros, emotional distress, 120,000 euros, professional reputation restoration, legal costs, 35,000 euros. Punitive damages for intentional discrimination, 200,000 euros. Total settlement, 400,000 euros. That's $435,000. Plus the airport paid 75,000 euros in legal fees, but money wasn't the only consequence. The airport implemented mandatory diversity training. All 340 security personnel required 12 hours of certification, new checkpoint protocols, digital verification within 60 seconds for every crew member, independent oversight, quarterly audits for 2 years, new checkpoint management, different people, different culture. For Delata and Rousseau personally, the consequences were permanent. Both terminated, both barred from aviation security industry under European Union regulation, a 3-kilometer exclusion zone around Paris airports, 5 years criminal referral. The French police looked at possible hate crime charges. Delata got a job as a security guard at a shopping mall, lower pay, different work. Rousseau remained unemployed. Neither spoke publicly. The airport issued an official statement. The actions of these officers do not represent airport values. We are implementing immediate retraining on anti-discrimination protocols and reviewing hiring practices for security personnel. Captain Mitchell issued her own statement. This settlement isn't about money. It's about accountability. I don't want another captain to walk through that checkpoint afraid. I don't want another pilot of color questioned about whether she belongs in her own career. 1 month after the settlement, Captain Mitchell was promoted. Senior captain, she got authority over new pilot training. She was speaking to a class of 24 new pilots. She stood in front of them and spoke honestly. For the first week after that morning, I didn't want to come back to work. Not because of flying, I love flying, but because I was afraid of being stopped, questioned, disbelieved. That's exhausting. That's what discrimination does. It makes you doubt your right to be somewhere even when you've earned it. She paused. I've been a pilot for 13 years, over 8,000 flight hours. I've trained 47 co-pilots who are now command pilots. I've never had an in-flight incident. My safety record is perfect. And none of that mattered on February 14th, because someone looked at me and decided they didn't believe I belonged. She let that sink in. Here's what I learned. Expertise doesn't protect you from bias. Credentials don't protect you from discrimination. Only accountability does. Only systems that say we're watching and consequences are real. She looked directly at the new pilots. If you're working and someone disrespects you or discriminates against you, document it. Tell someone, don't stay silent. I was silent the first 2 times, I won't be again. And I'm asking you not to be silent either. Her message was clear. Don't accept this. Fight back. Build systems that protect people. I want every captain to feel safe in their workspace. I want systems that believe people when they say who they are. And I want the next black female pilot to be welcomed instead of questioned. Women are only 5% of commercial airline pilots worldwide. Black women represent less than 2% of that 5%. That's less than 1% of all pilots. 47% of female pilots report discrimination from security personnel. 61% of black pilots report it too. This isn't isolated. This is a pattern. Aviation has a diversity problem. It has an accountability problem. Systems protect people with power instead of protecting people from them. Captain Mitchell's case only became public because 3 people recorded it. How many incidents never get recorded? How many workers of color face identical discrimination and never report it? Because the system has taught them nothing will happen anyway. So let me ask you, do we honestly believe a pilot's skin color affects her ability to fly safely? Of course not. But we tolerate systems where people act like they believe it. Do we think holding people accountable actually weakens security or strengthens it? Because Captain Mitchell wasn't a threat. She was a captain, and the system rewarded people for being suspicious of the wrong things. Do we believe that complaining about discrimination makes someone difficult? Or do we believe that perpetuating discrimination is the actual problem? Because Captain Mitchell spoke up anyway. Because if we don't address this now, if we don't demand accountability from institutions, if we don't believe people when they report discrimination, then we're just waiting for the next Captain Mitchell. The next worker of color stopped by someone with power. The next incident that goes viral. That's not justice. That's luck. Comment below if you believe workers deserve dignity. If you think discrimination should have consequences, if you believe systems need to change, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding better, not just from individual officers but from institutions that protect them, because that's where change actually happens. This isn't just about one antagonist or one victim. It's about all of us. See you in the next one.